You may already know about MGTOW. It means guys doing their own thing. The idea behind it is that men have realized it's not worth it to find a woman to marry, and that it's better to just go your own way and live your life how you want to. At first glance, it doesn't seem all that strange. A lot of women say they are coming to the same conclusion about men. That being with one man for a long time isn't worth it, and they'd be better off being single. I don't know if they are right or wrong. I don't think there is a right or wrong answer, and I think it's up to each person to decide. But based on what I've seen on our /MGTOW, a now banned subreddit, men who say they are MGTOW spend a lot of time thinking about how much they hate women. It wasn't all bad though. Some of them posted pictures of themselves on hikes, which was great. But there was a lot of sexism on it. It basically said that women are gold diggers and that men are better off without a wife or girlfriend. I will say that some subreddits for women, like female dating strategy, aren't much better, but that's a whole other conversation. Some subreddits and parts of the dark web are, to put it bluntly, a holes. I think these places exist because the internet makes it possible for people with weird ideas to meet up with other socially isolated people who also have weird ideas. This kind of thing just wasn't around 30 years ago. If you said stuff like that in public, people would probably tell you to shut your mouth, and finding people who agreed with you was harder. So yeah, MGTOW is one of those things that sounds good at first, but isn't what it seems to be. But let's assume that it means exactly what it says, getting on your own. If you want to do that, that's great. Women who want to do the same thing have the same options. But is it for me? To be honest, I'm 34, a straight man, and I've never had a partner. It would be easy for me to say, fuck relationships. If women don't want me, I'll just stop dating and concentrate on myself. Part of me really does feel this way. But I wouldn't be honest with myself if I said I didn't want a real loving relationship. Still, I need to be ready for the fact that it might not happen. I've said before that I'll just worry about myself and live my life. If something happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. So that's not MGTOW, it's something else. I don't know what you call it. I guess it's putting your attention on yourself. Maybe work on yourself. Self-improvement, on the other hand, is a very broad term that can mean many different things. I think it's important to work on yourself, but it can get boring to work on yourself all the time. I think you should find what you're interested in and focus on that. And dating advice for men would include things like working on your career, having a stable job, working on your health and fitness, dressing well, being well groomed, finding interesting things to talk about that actually interest you, knowing what you want, working on your body language, and knowing how to read other people's body language. That sort of thing. I think it would be different for women, but the same in some ways. So I get all of that, but I still can't say for sure that I'll meet someone. I don't know if I will or not. Everyone has to learn something. One last thing I want to say about MGTOW in the manosphere is that men who say that women don't want them because of women seem to miss the fact that if all women don't want you, it's probably not women who are the problem. And in general, you can't change other people, or at least you can't make them change, but you can always change yourself. What you do with this information is, of course, up to you. If you want to go down the MGTOW rabbit hole, you should know that people who really believe in the MGTOW philosophy think that our society is fundamentally biased against women. They also think that men should avoid relationships with women and pay as little tax as possible so that the government can't use those taxes to help single mothers and women in general. They think that women would be in trouble if men didn't pay taxes. Level 1 of MGTOW, that seems, is to avoid long-term relationships with women. Level 2 is to avoid relationships that only last a short time. What I just said about level 3 is what level 3 is. Don't make more money than you need to, because the more you make, the more tax you have to pay. Level 4 of the MGTOW seems to be to leave society completely, whatever that means. Yes, it is pretty crazy. As I've already said, I don't want to follow the MGTOW philosophy. The only part of MGTOW that I agree with is that a man's worth shouldn't depend on whether or not he has a wife or girlfriend. This can be hard to do when society keeps telling us that we need to have one. And yes, I don't actively avoid romantic relationships, but I also don't put all of my energy into making that happen. Instead, I work on myself and say, if it happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't.